Yo, what is up guys, it's me Zach Lee, and should I get NBA Playgrounds for my second channel? So yesterday, I mentioned the fact that the Utah Jazz had their season ended by the Golden State Warriors in a 4-game sweep. And even though they didn't win a game, Draymond Green still said that they were playing a good brand of basketball, but the Warriors were just a better team. And of course, with the Jazz's season coming to an end, all eyes immediately turned to Gordon Hayward, who will be one of the most sought after unrestricted free agents this summer, or could be one of the most sought after unrestricted free agents this summer. There isn't a team in this league who wouldn't love the opportunity to add him to their roster. He's a really hard-working guy, no ego, consistent, plays on both ends of the ball, all around just an amazing player. And I did want to talk about him in yesterday's video, but at the time I was making that video, there wasn't much to go off of, no stories, no interviews, and nothing like that. But that of course has changed. And the most interesting news that has come out about Gordon Hayward is that he is not even sure if he will opt out of the final year of his contract, and that in and of itself is very telling about what he might be going through, because just look at it. Hayward is set to make a little over $16 million on the final year of his 4-year deal that he signed when his original rookie contract expired. $16 million. Clearly a lot of money, and any one of us would probably feel set for life if that was our annual salary. But if he opts out, Hayward could potentially land a contract worth around $30 million per year, almost twice as much as he is making right now. And I'm just gonna be honest, I would have nothing to think about. Tell me I can opt out of some kind of contract right now and get paid nearly twice as much, and say no more, it is a done deal. Heck, I mean, even Kyle Lowry has already said that he plans on opting out of his deal. But the fact that Hayward said that he's unsure as to whether or not he will be opting out is a fantastic sign for Utah fans, potentially. Now, this could mean a couple of things. The first being is that he obviously just wasn't ready to announce that he would be opting out of his contract, since the Jazz had just been eliminated from the playoffs. But then again, like I said, it didn't take Lowry a whole lot of time to say that he'd be opting out after the Raptors fell to Cleveland. It could also mean that in order for the team to be able to sign better players and help them win, Hayward is willing to ride out the last year of his deal and take less money so they can use some of that money to go out and get better players. There are a lot of great players hitting free agency this year, but the fact of the matter is that in order to get any of those players to come to Utah, they're gonna have to overpay them a bit. It's just how it works. When a player is not signing with a championship caliber team, and while the Jazz could be one soon, they're still not at that level at the moment, or signing with a city that would be attractive to live in and play for, warm weather, beaches, stuff like that. It's a harder sell to get players to come play for you, but throw enough money their way and anything is possible. So he could have the mindset of, I'll stick it out for one more year. See what we can do with a little extra money in terms of bringing in more talent. See if we can advance further into the playoffs, and if not, I'll be free to make my decision next year as to whether to stay or not, which will be an honorable decision to make. And the Jazz do have a couple of nice building blocks at the moment, and Hayward of course, and then Gobert, who has taken a huge leap this year from just being an elite rim protector to being a competent player on the offensive end as well. And if he makes another jump in his offensive game this summer, the Jazz will have a really solid 1-2 punch in their starting lineup. But like I said, they still need a few more pieces. George Hill, who was of course the Jazz's starting point guard last year, came out and said basically that if Hayward comes back, then I'll come back, which is nice. He was really good for them this season when he was able to play, but it seemed like whenever the team's playing hit turbulence or the bus ran over a pothole, he sprained a toe, a finger, or something and will be out for the next 5 games. So as good as he seems when he can play, I'm not sure if I trust my starting point guard position to a player who hasn't proven he can stay healthy. Keep him around as a backup or something, but like I said, I need a player who will be ready to play more often than not. And luckily for Utah, there will be an abundance of starting point guards available in free agency this year. Players like Chris Paul might be out of play for you guys, but you still have the Lowrys and Teagues of the basketball world available to you. And an interesting scenario I thought of would be if Hayward decides to ride out the final year of his contract, Utah could offer contracts to players like Teague and maybe, I don't know, Paul Millsap, which would be a double reunion. Millsap and Teague both played together in Atlanta, and then Millsap had a stint in Utah at the beginning of his career too. Both those players, I honestly feel will fit perfectly with the Jazz. Both great defenders for their position, versatile, unselfish, hardworking. They just make so much sense, which would then give the Jazz a starting lineup of Jeff Teague, Rodney Hood, Gordon Hayward, Paul Millsap, and Rudy Gobert. And then off the bench, you would have George Hill, Derek Favors, Joe Johnson, and I'm sure it wouldn't be hard to re-sign Joe Ingles if they wanted to. That could be very deadly. And would it be enough to stand up to Golden State though? Yeah, it definitely would be enough to stand up to Golden State. Could they beat Golden State? I don't know, but I'd imagine that Hayward would have a hard time finding a better unit to sign with after next season. Because in the end, that would be the goal. To use this summer to build a team that Hayward would feel he could compete with. It would be unreasonable for Hayward to expect Utah Jazz to win a championship the very next year or anything like that. But I do believe that even if it's not Millsap and Teague, Utah could find those couple of players to bring in. They'll put them in a position to be closer, if not become legit threats in the West. But that all stems from the theory that Hayward decides to ride out the final year of his deal and not bolt in free agency, which is also a possibility. Of course, you hear about Boston. Miami was rumored earlier in the year. During the Celtics Area 21 thing, they said something about Hayward and Griffin both going to OKC to play with Russell Westbrook. So, you know, anything could happen. I just went off what Hayward said and what it could possibly mean for the Utah Jazz. There is a lot to talk about when it comes to this game. You know, this was by far the closest game of this series. Before this, nothing but blowouts left and right for both teams. And this one was close, but weird. I mean, when Kawhi makes a Shaqtin' of the Fool play like he did yesterday, you know you are in for a strange night. And of course, it started with Kawhi making a Shaqtin' the Fool play, to him not playing in the final minutes of the game or in overtime, which we all then knew that something was wrong, but we didn't know exactly what it was. And after the game, it became quite clear what it was when he was limping off the court. An ankle injury. The severity of the injury is still uncertain, but Kawhi does say that he plans on playing in Game 6.
How severe is the injury? Do you think you anticipate being able to play Game 6?
Yeah, I'm able to play.
Was it just a precautionary thing to keep you out? Or?
I think he seen me how I was playing and ended up pulling me out. And, you know, guys are ready to play.
You got an x-ray. Did the x-ray show that?
I'm not sure. I'm not allowed to just release that information.
And then the end of the fourth, up until about the last 90 seconds of overtime. I don't even know how to put this. Let's just say that if you were watching these two teams play for the first times, you would definitely not have been able to tell that these were a couple of the best offensive teams in the NBA. I mean, Harden was turning the ball over left and right, running down the shot clock and then forcing up contested threes. San Antonio was looking out of sync, and for some reason, Aldridge is unable to post up James Harden down in the paint, which is very bizarre. And then in those last 90 seconds, all of a sudden, things started to look a bit more normal when teams were able to hit a couple of shots. Danny Green hit a three, and then Ryan Anderson responding with 3 of his own. And then Danny Green actually drove the ball, and get this, made an and one layup to give the Spurs the lead. He later split a pair of free throws to put the Spurs up 3 in the final seconds of the game. You know, Houston's offense then once again looked bad. James Harden tries to attempt a leaning 3 at the buzzer, but gets it snatched cleanly off his hands by Manu at the buzzer. One of the cleanest blocks I have ever seen. You know, most of the times when there is a block, the offensive player could make a case that he was fouled. You know, not this one. Ginobili got all ball. I don't even think he fouled the air on that one. And of course, that's how the game ended. Intense, but bizarre, and San Antonio now has a 3-2 series lead. Yesterday, after Draymond Green's comments on the Eastern Conference playoffs, I asked you guys whether or not you thought the Raptors and the Pacers play bad basketball like Green claimed they did. To which you guys said, the Western Conference is boring too. We all know it's Golden State Warriors and Cavs. Plus, the Warriors lead by 20 more than trail by a point, so the Golden State Warriors series are boring too. Draymond ain't on the court out there with the Cavs, so he can't make those remarks saying that other teams aren't trying. If he was on the Cavs, he probably would have said the same thing about the Warriors. Just stupid, to be honest. Draymond be tripping. The Pacers played just as well as the Jazz, but just because of the skill difference between the Cavs and the Pacers, it seemed like that. You know, it does seem pretty hypocritical of Draymond, and maybe he can't say their games aren't boring because he can't see what we see when we watch it. I mean, to us, when the Warriors are always up by 15 or 20 points, it's not the most entertaining thing in the world. Which is going to lead us to today's question of the day. Why do you think Hayward hasn't decided if he will opt out of his deal or not? Do you think he might be willing to take less money for a year to help Utah bring in more players? I already gave you my opinion on the matter. Now I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. But now let's hop over into the player of the day. And yesterday, you guys selected Stephen Curry and has 30.7 assists and 5 rebounds as your player of the day, and here are today's nominees. You have Danny Green and his great defense and clutch plays to end up with 16 points. Kawhi Leonard pre-injury and his 22 points and 15 rebounds. Or Manu Ginobili with a post-Kawhi saving play of 12 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and the game-saving block. You guys can go vote for the player of the day right now by following the straw poll link down in the description box below. But other than that, thank you once again for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like on and subscribe for more daily NBA news. And until tomorrow, keep getting the Bucks, Team STC, and I'm out of here. Peace!